Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome back to another live stream. And thank you so much for tuning in for another show. Welcome to all of our members, subscribers, and viewers from all across the world. And again, thank you so much for tuning in. Tonight, I'm only going to be talking about the resistance in Lebanon and Gaza. We had the most intense attack coming from Hizbullah on Haifa in particular, with detailed bases and locations that they targeted with hundreds of missiles. They haven't disclosed the number yet, but by the level that they landed on Haifa, this has been the most intense attack ever on the city of Haifa, which is considered to be one of the most important cities in Israel and the most important city economically when it comes to Israel. I'm going to give you all of the details in all of the videos about this attack, including many videos that haven't been published before. The second thing that I wanted to talk to you about is the resistance in Gaza. We had a day again in Gaza, unbelievable levels of attacks on the genocide forces. Where? In Jabalia. Jabalia, the area that they are trying to ethnically cleanse, the area that they destroyed completely, the area where they're murdering children, destroying hospitals, killing people when they're sleeping, targeting UN refugee shelters, targeting schools where innocent civilians seek shelter, and imposing a campaign of starvation against the population. We had 5 intense attacks coming from Al-Qassam brigades in Jabalia, where they in total took down no less than 38 genocide soldiers, including in 3 Merkava tanks, 1 troop carrier, and 2 bulldozers, wreaking havoc and destroying and killing innocent people inside of Gaza. And this is what I'm going to start off with. I'm going to start off with this man. This man is a fighter from Al-Qassam brigades. He is a disabled man who was wounded and participated in the attacks on the genocide forces in Jabalia today, alongside several of the Palestinians in North Gaza who carried out these attacks against Israel. And before he had this actual attack, he sent a message. He sent a message saying, "Despite my injury, I carry my explosive and will head toward the enemy. Inshallah, I will say, as our Sheikh said, place my neck on the blade, ignite my ribs. You cannot besiege my thought for an hour or strip away my faith and the light of my conviction, for the light is in my heart and my heart is in the hand of my Lord, and my Lord is my helper and supporter. I will live clinging to the bond of my creed, and I will die smiling so that my religion can live." And the operation itself started off with the attack of this man when it comes to the general attacks in Gaza by doing this.
الله أكبر الله أكبر
Some of you said that I was muted. I was explaining that the first operation was carried out by that man who was disabled, who targeted a Merkava tank, and that the second operation targeted the D9 bulldozer when it comes to the genocide forces in Gaza, and they continued with their operations that were carried out in Jabalia. And I'll share the rest of the video with you. This one was an armored personnel carrier. Usually the armored personnel carriers in Israel can carry up to 18 soldiers inside them. The Merkavas can hold 4, some of them 4 plus 3, and the troop carrier can carry approximately 18 people. Some of them can carry 12 to 13. This one can carry 18 people. And again, they destroyed all of it, and that is in Jabalia. All of these recordings are from the Jabalia, the most hardly hit area nowadays in Gaza.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما رميت إذ رميت ولكن الله رمى لا غالب إلا الله صوب يا أسد بسم الله بسم الله بسم الله بسم الله ضربت حبسها الله عزة للدين الله أكبر الله أكبر
So these were the attacks that came from Gaza. We started off with Gaza. Again, 5 attacks. These were from the ones that we published in this stream. There was another attack where they took down a genocide soldier with a sniper. All of these indicate that the resistance in Gaza will continue regardless of what Israel is doing. And the fact that we're talking about Jabalia and that the resistance is still able to function over the ground and under the ground, they still have communication when it comes to the movement of the genocide forces in Gaza. All of these things indicate that no matter what Israel does inside of Gaza, they would not be able to take down the resistance, especially with the level of intensity that we saw today. Israel mostly claims that they took down the ability of Hamas and the Palestinian resistance from conducting operations against them in Gaza. They always say that we dismantled Hamas as an organization. They no longer have organizational military capabilities. We're only fighting guerrilla warfare inside of Gaza. However, the facts that are coming from the ground indicate that all that Israel is saying is lies upon lies. They are being hit in the areas that are hit the most. Wherever Israel hits the most, they get the most resistance, and again from people who are disabled. And the other day we shared the man who was 60 years old as well, fighting them in Gaza. So doesn't matter what they say, evidence coming from the ground proves the absolute opposite when it comes to Gaza, which leads us to Lebanon. This happened in Haifa today, and you won't see some of these images. This happened in Haifa. Haifa has the main port. It's the economic gate of Israel. It's a place where you have a lot of chemical refineries, ammonia factories. Very dangerous place to be hit. And Hizbullah warned Israel before, if you escalate, we'll turn Haifa into Kiryat Shmone. And now they turned it into something worse than Kiryat Shmone because of the scale of attacks and the level. You have a lot of population inside of Gaza. And before I share the actual videos with you, I'm going to tell you what Hizbullah said that they targeted inside of Haifa, because in Israel, of course, they don't say what has been hit. In many of the videos that are seen published, you don't see the evidence of what is being targeted or the elaboration. But we had these confirmations coming from Hezbollah, although they haven't yet published an all-out inclusive declaration when it comes to the attacks that they conducted on Haifa. But we had a couple of flash news coming from Hezbollah saying that they targeted for the first time the Nesher base, a gas station belonging to the Israeli enemy army located 40 kilometers southeast of the occupied Haifa city from the Lebanese borders. Then they also targeted the Tirat al-Karmel base, which includes a regiment and a battalion of the northern region, including a naval logistics base south of the occupied city of Haifa. They also targeted the Stella Maris base, which is a strategic base for maritime surveillance and monitoring on the northern coast. And they targeted the Haifa naval base affiliated with the Israeli Navy and including a fleet of missile boats and submarines. They also targeted the Haifa technical base affiliated with the Israeli Air Force, including a training college for preparing Air Force technicians, alongside other attacks. But these were some of the main locations that they targeted in Haifa. But we had landings in locations apart from those locations in Haifa. And now it's time for the videos. That's one of the first videos of the attack on Haifa, or one part of Haifa.
תראה איזה פיצוצים ברצפה שם, תראה.
So as you can see, no interception, no nothing, and only after the missiles landed, you started to have certain sirens coming in. This was widely circulating, and again, these videos are coming from people on the ground. So it's important to say that you can't verify all of them because people are sending them and publish them, but all of them are being released, and we try and be as accurate as possible. Today, following the attacks on Haifa, and this was another video that one resident of the city took of the landing, or some of the landings with the noise of the landings.
Hi. Hi.
Now, one thing important to note here, that if you notice with the videos that we published so far, there are missiles landing and there are no interceptions and there are no sirens. Sirens start to become activated afterwards. In some cases, the interceptions begin after some of the missiles started to land. After some of the missiles started to land. And here we have another video. Just share the full screen with you. Again, as you can see, landings, missiles trying to intercept, something exploding in the air, but after many of these missiles started to land. And that's very important because, of course, the usual claims are, well, the missiles are being intercepted, they're hardly hitting anything. However, the facts on the ground prove the contrary, that we are actually seeing landings, and we're actually seeing destruction as well, such as the case with this video here. So again, this is the level of destruction coming from Hizbullah, coming from the attacks of Hizbullah on Israel. And I'm just going to check if we have a couple of more relevant videos for you. Yeah, there's one more video of the sound of landings, some missiles trying to intercept. So, intense days. And again, an important disclaimer, although the certainty or the level of certainty of the accuracy of all of these videos is extremely high. But again, these were sent by people in Israel. There is a lot of censorship. The only way people are able to publish anything is by sending things on social media. And of course, they start to circulate. In some cases, there have been certain videos that we have been able to verify if they are received by certain people you might know. However, with the rest of them, if the person who sent them or published them, you don't know them, you don't know who they are, you share them, but it's important to have this disclaimer. And we also have a couple of other videos of the damage on some of the buildings in Haifa. Again, you're seeing the whole building destroyed. These are landings in multiple parts of Haifa, south, north, central, alongside the strategic hubs that Hezbollah targeted today in what was the most intense day on Haifa ever in history. And notice the pattern that we're having here. we're having a pattern of threats coming from Israel, and of course the mediators as well, Amos Hochstein and the United States delegation that goes to Lebanon back and forth. And Israel threatened Hizbullah that with each day that passes where you don't accept our conditions for a ceasefire, we will have more lethal blows against you. And Israel indeed increases the attacks on what? On civilian infrastructure, on people, on children. This is what they do in Lebanon. They destroy buildings, they destroy hospitals, healthcare facilities, sacred places, and now they've been targeting Baalbek. Baalbek with the 11,000-year history and important monuments in Baalbek, similar to what ISIS did in Syria previously. Yet Hezbollah are still able to conduct operations like the Palestinian resistance is able to conduct operations. And what do we understand from this? We understand that despite the level of destruction coming from Israel on the civilians, on the infrastructure, on the hospitals, on the universities, on the schools in Gaza, all of the universities were bombed and over 70% of all schools were destroyed, completely destroyed. And they target the rest of them wherever people try and seek shelter, alongside all of the hospitals, every single lifeline. But you still have resistance. What does that tell you? That tells you that Israel's military campaign or genocide campaign militarily is failing miserably. They have no 1 ounce of success when it comes to the Palestinian resistance and when it comes to the Lebanese resistance and the Palestinian resistance, because they are unable to stop the attacks that are being conducted on Israel, and they are unable to achieve any of their declared military objectives, neither in Gaza nor in Lebanon. Now, in Lebanon, we were expecting a very high level of intensity from Hezbollah because they are more capable and more well-equipped than the Palestinian resistance. But the almost unbelievable resistance is coming from Gaza. You're talking about people coming from the rubble. It's like something out of a fairy tale. Total destruction, and people coming out and still fighting this genocidal entity, including disabled people and people who are over 60 years old. That shows you who you're dealing with in terms of people on the Palestinian side and Lebanese side, and who you are dealing in terms of people and their backers when it comes to the genocide entity. Very, very high intensity. And it doesn't appear that any sort of diplomatic or military pressure is working, particularly in Lebanon, because we know very well that it hasn't worked in Gaza. Both Hamas and Hezbollah told Israel, we will not give you what you haven't achieved in war politically. So if you try and achieve anything from a political or diplomatic perspective through negotiations, after you failed to achieve it with your war crimes and barbarism, we will not allow you. You will not be able to achieve it. No amount of destruction, no amount of killing, no amount of genocide, no amount of losses will shift the path of those people fighting Israel. And this is the thing that will be changing the equation, especially due to the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel are going on an all-out maximalist approach, war where there is no turning back. After the temporary ceasefire we had 40 days approximately into the genocide in Gaza, we haven't had anything to de-escalate. Everything only escalated, and there are no indications that Israel is planning to decrease its escalation. The only thing that might happen is they might have some sort of breathing space to get their forces together, to have a breathing space slightly, and then go and continue on their campaign, because they have made everything clear. They are on their way to declare sovereignty over the West Bank, over Gaza. They are talking about total control from the southern part of Lebanon. And you have people inside the Israeli government who are blatantly saying that they are looking to establish the greater Israel. the Greater Israel stretches between Egyptian territories to Saudi Arabian territories. And that's why you might have noticed a slight shift when it comes to Saudi Arabia. They're probably feeling that it's coming to them, no matter how much they submit to the United States administration's will and demands when it comes to the war. These were the main things that I wanted to share with you. Very intense. And especially when it comes to Hizbullah, they are showing Israel a level, well, not especially, because both the Palestinian and the Lebanese resistance are beyond comprehension. What they're doing against a state getting all that it needs from the world's largest superpower. Well, that's in question now. You know, you have China and Russia too, but they're getting everything from the United States administration. Yet with all of that, and with all of the betrayal, with all or most of the Arab states turning their backs and sometimes working in favor of the United States administration and the Zionists, these people are able to come up from under the rubble somehow, one person targeting 10, 20, and not taking any step back despite all of the atrocities and this genocidal entity crossing every line, breaking every law under the sun, disregarding every single thing to do with a smithereen of human rights when it comes to the peoples of the region. All of these things indicate that we are in an all-out war that is only escalating, and it doesn't appear that it will be stopping up until we have one side that is clearly victorious. And the final point that I wanted to talk to you about, one person shared a video on social media, and again, a disclaimer, I don't speak Persian. I speak English, Arabic, and Hebrew. I don't speak Persian. But there's a translation here from the IRGC spokesperson revealing that Iran owns advanced Russian S-400 air defense systems, where the spokesman is saying we are now employing S-300 and S-400 systems. So why did, and then the reporter told him, wait, S-300 and S-400, and then the spokesperson said, yes, no. That was published by a couple of accounts online, including the Middle East Spectator and Megatron, that I wanted to share with you here.
سامانه های S300 و S400 روسی رو خب ما داریم به کارگیری میکنیم. چرا رفتیم
هم S400 و هم S300؟
بله نه.
They did that last bit as a joke, that he let it slip that they have S-400. Now, the fact that Iran might possess S-400 is very significant because the S-400 is, of course, more advanced than the S-300, with a longer range and more sophisticated radars, if I'm not mistaken, more advanced technology. However, what Iran used so far, and again, we can't confirm that they haven't used S-400s in the Israeli attack that was carried out on them. They intercepted most of the projectiles that came from Israel, and even F-35s didn't dare come to the Persian Gulf and the Iranian territories, indicating that they already have a very high level of air defense systems able to intimidate and shock their enemies and stop them from carrying out any successful attacks on Iran with any meaningful results. Now, when it comes to the attack, and we covered it at the time, there were a lot of interceptions. Clearly, certain projectiles landed in Iran. That's why we had 5 Iranian martyrs from the Iranian army. However, the fact that Iran possesses S-400 without this being declared could indicate that Iran possesses other things without them declaring it, such as the advanced Sukhoi fighter jets coming from Russia. And these things will be a game changer in any open confrontation between Iran and Israel, or Iran and the United States administration. And these were the main things that I want to talk to you about in this live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. And I'll open the space up for you. Check if you have any questions for me. We'll take some of your participation. Before I begin, Bob Marston, Alessandra, and Marion. Tim, thank you so much for your participation. And if you have anything for me, if you wouldn't mind just highlighting it and restricting it to share it once or twice, just to give space for all of the community to participate as well. And I see most of you were actually commenting about the actual videos rather than having anything, because they were self-explanatory, really. These videos coming from the occupied Palestinian territory and from Gaza, they speak for themselves. And again, these things are not published on mainstream media, and that's why we publish them here, to show what's happening on the ground. It's very simple. Zamili, Mahmoud, did you see the video of that Lebanese reporter who got exposed as a spy? Yes, I did. His workmates found out that he was sending photos of launch site to Israeli reporters who were forwarding it. I saw that. There are people in Lebanon who are shameful people, unbelievably shameful people. You have political figures in Lebanon, like this Samir Ja'ja guy who participated in the 1982 massacres against the Palestinians side by side with the Zionist occupiers, saying now that the Israeli attacks on Lebanon could pave the way for correct the way for Lebanon. Imagine, children are being killed in Lebanon and you have these people. It shows you that in these countries where you are facing these atrocities, you have people insisting on being on the wrong side of history. And these people are a big problem, like reporters, serving a country committing genocide. Do you know what I mean? And there's a difference between you having an opinion and you supporting a genocide, actually supporting a genocide and war crimes, blatant war crimes. And we're not talking about a force that is coming and playing fair or playing within the international law, targeting only military bases where you can have, a give and take with them, right? Let's say Israel indeed only targeted just locations of the resistance movements fighting it, right? Some people, although it's, of course, it's wrong from the core, but it's easier for people to have a debate. Well, they are. I mean, it appears that they are only targeting their military bases, and they're responding back. But how about we change that and shift it? No, that's not what's happening. It's the resistance only targeting military and security bases, and the genocide entity slaughtering everyone, despite the fact they have the upper hand when it comes to precision missiles. They can target an ant in a room if they want. But they choose not to. They choose to kill children, to kill women, men, hospital, everything. They choose to do that. And this guy in Lebanon, and again, a disclaimer, I didn't read through the whole story, but I saw the video that you're referring to. And like I said, there are people in Lebanon, like there are people in Palestine who insist on remaining on the wrong side of history. And Dr. X, thank you. And Dr. X is inviting everyone in Rio to join the Pro-Palestine March next Monday. Let's show G20 we don't endorse genocide. Love. Thank you so much, Dr. X. And that's for everyone in Brazil. Thank you very much for that. Nikki, how much damage has been done to the Israeli military? Says there is a lot of censorship in Israel. Even international reporters, sometimes they are harassed and bullied, arrested, some of them. That's inside, Israeli territories. In Gaza and the West Bank, they actually killed them. In Gaza, they killed over 160 reporters, targeting them deliberately, following them, chasing them, targeting their families. In Lebanon, too, they targeted reporters as well, deliberately, knowingly. Inside of Israel, they harassed them, and there's a military censorship. The military censorship can literally imprison you for very prolonged periods if you say anything that is outside, what they dictate. And in many cases, if you are producing something and publishing it, it has to pass through the military censorship. And if you are doing something live, then you need to be ultra careful. And all of the reporters know that very well. However, what we can say, of course, is we saw things landing. We saw people from Israel posting videos of things landing, and we heard Hizbullah saying what they were targeting. And I hope that explains. If they said we targeted XYZ in Israel and we heard missiles landing within that vicinity, all of these things indicate that they indeed landed there and caused a lot of damage. But again, do I have an image to show? I don't have an image to show so far. We could have images later on. For example, like the attack on Nevatim that Iran carried out successfully. Well, Israel denied any attack, but as a matter of fact, they attacked the Nevatim, they attacked the runway, and they attacked the hangars where Israel houses the F-35s and F-16s. And that was published through satellite imagery, because there are many powers with satellites who don't like Israel. And of course, as soon as I have something, I will of course publish it and share it with you. Marvin, you said, have you heard of Syria and Iraq, Yemeni fighters helping Hezbollah, or any foreign fighters helping Hamas? Hamas, mostly Palestinians. Hezbollah have an advantage when it comes to Lebanon being more open and them having access to aid coming from the air, sea, and from the land. If anyone wants to go and help Hezbollah, they can. With Hamas, it's much more difficult. And that's why, it's almost, miraculous what's happening in Gaza. The fact that they are able to continue so much for so long, of course, indicates that there is... there's a supply line somewhere. Most indications would say that these would be tunnels, right, from somewhere. And they are getting to Gaza. They are getting to the Palestinian resistance. Well, Lebanon, with men, they don't necessarily need men. Why? Because there's enough men in Lebanon. There's enough men in Gaza. And as a matter of fact, in Lebanon, there's more people to fight than Hezbollah needs. I mean, there are people in other parts of Lebanon who are begging to go down to the south and fight. But the resistance telling them we don't need manpower. And when it comes to their missiles, they are very well hidden and protected. But when it comes to Syria and Iraq, Yemeni, there is a capacity to help. Not in the thousands, not in the tens of thousands, not in the hundreds of thousands, in the millions. In the millions, and when it comes to numbers, they have the capacity if they only need men, right? And we heard reports coming from, Iraq that were willing to send, one of the resistance movements said, we're willing to send you 100,000 people. But so far, they don't really need them. Christopher Kell is saying, what do you make of the report on damage to the nuclear facility? It coincided with the IAEA or IAEI visit to Iran and them having talks with Iran about their nuclear project. And also, IAEA, I finally got it. International Atomic Energy Agency. Okay. Why did they publish it before? That's a question. And it was more pressing to publish it before. I think they were trying to stir problems between Iran and the IAEA and potentially put Iran in a corner. Put Iran in a corner so that both Israel and the United States can anticipate when they will be responding. But clearly nothing has been, this hasn't been verified by Iran. Iran said what has been actually hit was very limited. And by the way, Iran also denied the meeting that one of you shared with me yesterday, that Elon Musk met with an Iranian representative in the UN on Monday, saying that we want to decrease tensions. Iran denied that. No such meeting took place, they said. And Kirk Doherty and some guy and X51 and Sean Hurl, thank you so much. Some guy and saying goodbye Israel. Indeed, Sean Hurl. Do Geno-colonists ever get to leave their bunkers? I mean, they would be able to leave in certain periods where there are no sirens, for example, or warnings. But the problem is, you saw the landings without sirens. That's a very big problem. You know, the fact that Israel has so many radars and it's on high alert 24/7, and missiles are landing without sirens, without warnings. It's a very problematic thing. And Taharka, thank you. You said greetings from Atlanta. Greetings, my friend, everyone in Atlanta and the US as well. Thank you for tuning in. He said, did Turkey stop oil to Israel? Erdogan said we'll cut all ties with Israel. And the other day, you know, I said, if Erdogan said we cut all of the ties with Israel, then we expect them to cut all of the ties with Israel. Before, there were also certain talks coming from Turkey, but contradicting evidence came afterwards. Now, of course, Turkey has very good positions from a political and diplomatic perspective in solidarity with the Palestinian people and their resistance. But when it comes to certain actions, we have seen less than what is being said. So if they are saying that, and they have said that, I mean, the president said that, I think that needs to be chased up and for people to monitor. I'm sure there's more than enough people in Turkey who would be, you know, monitoring these things and criticizing the government if something contradicting happens and it is proven that Turkey is actually still dealing with Israel. Ali Haider is saying, Salam Mahmoud, Salam brother. You said they just blew up a big chunk of Patron, my native village. Who will help rebuild? Can you talk about how the rebuilding process worked in the past? Thank you, my brother, and I'm sorry to hear that you know, your beautiful village of Patron was hit. But let me clear something up. Israel deliberately destroys civilian buildings in areas. And why do they do that? It's to make them uninhabitable and to psychologically instill it in the minds of the people that there's nowhere to go back to. That's all their campaign in Gaza, and this is their campaign in South Lebanon. Now, with regards to the destruction, listen, buildings that have been destroyed can be rebuilt. The most important thing is for them not to kill the spirit of the people. Buildings can be destroyed and can be rebuilt. Your spirit shouldn't be crushed. They want to crush people's spirit. Tell them there's no way you can defeat us and we'll slaughter all of you if you lift a finger and resistance. They'll try and use every evil way and means of intimidation and terror and crimes against humanity to destroy the people's souls and destroy their spirit. But the people in Lebanon, you know, who are, well, at least the brave people, the free people of Lebanon, not all of them, like with the people of Palestine, the free people of Palestine, which is also being reflected across the world. There are free people of the world and there are slave people of the world, right? The free people are speaking up and the slaves are not saying anything. And we have that in Palestine, we have that in Lebanon. But they will be rebuilt, and the spirits of these people, it cannot be defeated. And that has been evident. 1 year following a massive genocide, you can still see people in Gaza smiling, man. You can still see people having fun. You know, they are still trying to provide everything. They're making showers out of water bottles. Do you know what I mean? They're creating soaps from everything. Fascinating. So their desire for life hasn't gone away. Their love for life hasn't gone away. These are people who deserve equal human rights and to live like the dignified people they are, the most honorable people on earth, these people. But you are being targeted into not believing that these people are worthy of equal human rights and that they are somehow subhuman, like what the genocidal entity tells us. No, they are people who are some of the most beautiful people on earth, inside and out, and they deserve equal human rights. And what's happened to this day proves that their spirits cannot be broken. Simple. And the building, Aitarun, it will be rebuilt. Don't worry. Aitarun, Ait al-Sha'b, all of these villages, they will be rebuilt, like Gaza will be rebuilt too. And it will not be rebuilt by the occupation. It will be rebuilt by its own people and by the people who stood up against the genocide. No one else. And I hope that clarifies. That's from Ali Haidar. Thank you so much for that, my friend, and much solidarity with you. Sean, no words on latest attempts to remove Bibi from the planet. I told you yesterday about the explosions heard in Caesarea next to his house. Those are Israeli people publishing this information, by the way. And Netanyahu isn't meeting in one specified locations. They are not declaring the cabinet meetings anymore. He's not moving an inch unless authorized by his head of security. And Hizbullah outright declared, we're after him. We're going to take his life. So he's scared. He's paranoid, like the top figures in the genocide entity as well. And I think these attempts will continue, especially because more and more Israelis now are working with almost everyone trying to hurt the Israeli government and Israel as an ethno-state, as an apartheid state. That's why, you heard about these rings working for Iran and working for the resistance. Israeli Jews, different ages, men, women. If you see their images like normal people, knowingly, not being fooled into or tricked into, because, there are lots of tricks when it comes to that, but knowingly they did that. Rajabov, speak up. Do you think Nasrallah is the most popular Arab leader in contemporary times? I saw Al Jazeera protests and condolences for in India, Pakistan, Kashmir, Algeria. Well, yeah, I think some people don't really know the extent of popularity of, the late martyr Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah before he was assassinated. He's a religious figure. He's a scholar. He is a humanist. He's a person who believes in equal human rights. Even when it comes to the solution in Palestine, he believes in a one democratic equal state where Palestinians and Israelis can live in equally, in peace together. That's Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, by the way. And he said that in interviews. And you can go ahead and watch the interview he had with Julian Assange back in 2012 as well, if you have time. But of course, when it comes to Israel, it's as if they're just on a blood campaign. They just want to kill everyone, thinking in their delusional minds that they can take away the resistance with them, and thinking that by targeting someone like him, people's spirits will be down and they will be. No, that never happened, because there were also very popular figures previously were targeted. I think he's definitely one of the most popular people, and he will go down in history as a person who sacrificed his life for the sake of Palestine, for the sake of Jerusalem, for the sake of the oppressed people of Gaza. And not many leaders can say that on this planet. Not many leaders can have that being said about them. People like Nasrallah, people like Sinwar. Sinwar is a different level, by the way. Sinwar was actively fighting when he didn't really have to, and up until the last breath. And they took him down by mistake. They didn't even know where he was, debunking the whole myth about him hiding in tunnels with millions and stocks and whatever it is. And I think actions speak louder than words, despite all of the propaganda and despite all of the poison and the spinning attempts. Kashmiri vlog, salam brother, what do you reckon about MBS? Will he act for Palestine and Lebanon? Jazakallah khair. You're seeing what's happening in Saudi Arabia. Aren't you seeing what's happening in Saudi Arabia? I mean, entertainment, parties, you know, Riyadh season, money, and some of their, you know, religious lecturers, right, with these long beards, coming up and giving, you know, fatwas about Palestine. Oh no, you know, you can't, you know, stand up against Israel. No, some of them will tell you, oh no, the Palestinian people, they're not martyrs even. They're children. And what they're doing is total destruction, people of havoc. You can't support the resistance. You can't say this, you can't say that. Now, saying all of that, they have been improving their relations with Iran, for example. They are not only dealing with the United States, they have other countries that they deal with, including China and Russia. But when it comes to Palestine, no significant Arab country gave anything apart from damage and destruction and propaganda worse than Western mainstream media. And usually when you talk about the media of the country, state-sponsored media, they reflect what the country says or thinks, although you can have different statements. What do you mean 1 year on, you have an Arab League summit talking about the need to stop what's happening? What do you mean talk? When you haven't taken one action, what kind of hypocrisy is this? Oh, we need to take more action, and we need. So what have you been doing? What do you expect? What are you expecting? Who? The genocide cartel to support it? Or expecting the US to support it? Or who are you waiting for? And they haven't even used basic types of leverage that they can use. If all of the Arab states used all of their all of their economic and diplomatic power, they could have stopped this a long time ago. And I haven't started to speak about like military intervention, which they're entitled to, by the way. Every country in the world is entitled to take military action against a genocidal entity that has proven that it is reckless and expansionist and a threat to global security and global populations. Yet, war criminals are being allowed to roam around in Europe freely without any due diligence. Mass negligence from the state, from these people, child killers going to Europe. No check, show me, have you served in Gaza? Did you do this and that? When you have the world's biggest court saying they committed a genocide. So I'm not expecting anything from Saudi Arabia, but what we can expect is potentially a slight shift, but nothing significant to a level where it would cause significant changes on the ground. I mean, they're still talking about a solution. The fact that they're open for, what do you mean open for a solution? With who? With child killers? What do you mean a solution with them? You should change the regime of this Geno-State. You shouldn't be talking about peace with them. Even if they stop now, are you going to forgive all of what they've done? But again, what they're doing shows you their priorities. You know, what they prioritize when it comes to Saudi Arabia. And again, their media speaks volumes when it comes to the case of Palestine and their position. And Jeff and Santos Silva and Angela Brody and Daniela 61 and Donna Vorche, thank you so much for your super. Much appreciated. Let's see if we have any other questions. And Marvin, you're saying if the BRICS will be participating in the rebuilding process, and he's saying, isn't that incentive for Zayed devils to and US trying to ethnic cleanse Gaza in the West Bank, get land for Zayed, stop BRICS, get biz for Zayo bankers? Usually with the rebuilding process, you will have a lot of participation from many countries, by the way, and international donors from and outside the BRICS, by the way. And I don't think that's going to be a big problem getting the funds that are eventually necessary, because don't forget, you don't need to flood in the money immediately. Let's say we have a ceasefire tomorrow. The most important thing is we'll have a ceasefire. You know, people can breathe. Instant relief when it comes to medical treatment, food, hygiene, water, everything that the people need, basic stuff, safe places for them to be in, even temporarily. If we talk about tents, you know, something proper to live in up until the rebuilding process begins. And then I'm sure certain technology will be used, or methods to use the destruction as well when it comes to the rebuilding. By the way, we've already seen people in Gaza individually using the destruction to create cement again and, you know, fix some of their destroyed properties. Some people live in destroyed properties, don't forget. I mean, even before the 7th of October, I think it was a very large percentage, 30 or 40% of the houses in Gaza, if not even more, were considered to be hazardous for your health anyway. So instant relief first, this is the point. And then you talk about the rebuilding process, and we could be talking about long years of rebuilding. So bit by bit, make conditions for people to live in that are in line with basic human rights and human needs, right? Shelter, food, medical aid, everything that they need, basic infrastructure. And then you talk about the rest, and that will come. I don't think that's going to be a very big problem to get that, by the way. And we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation. And thank you for everyone also asking about me. Thank you so much. It was from Angela. All well, alhamdulillah. I hope all of you are well. I hope you enjoyed this live stream. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for everyone who sent supers. Kashmiri Vlogs, Jeff, Santos, Angela, Daniela, Donna, Sean, X51, some guy, Kirk, Taharka, Dr. X, Marion, Alessandra, Bob Marston. Thank you very much, and everyone who participated in this live stream. I'll hopefully have a video for you after this. And live stream as usual tomorrow, unless we have developments that require my attendance. In the meantime, everyone stay blessed, take care, and I will see you soon in the next video. Peace, everyone.